That track was called The Silver Cloud's Dark Lining. That was by Skyclad off of their CD Vintage Wine, and that wraps up Mostly Metal here for this night. I'm Ken the Metal Professor. It's 9:30. You are listening to WVLP LP 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. You may also be tuned to WVLP.org, streaming us there, or listening on a radio app like the TuneIn Radio app. I'm glad you're with us. If you're someplace and you're stuck and you can't change the channel, I'm sorry you're with us. But it is now time for the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
Alrighty, it is now officially the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program here on WVLP. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and I am really happy to be joined in the studio by Mr. Chaz Moretti. Thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we're gonna be talking wrestling and what you like about it, what you do in it, all sorts of good stuff for the next half an hour, if you can stand it for that length of time.
Well, it's going to be a half hour of greatness that your fans will never forget.
I believe that. But I'm worried now that there will be such a high standard that I will not live up to it from this point on.
Well, all you can do is try.
I will try it. In fact, I sort of had an unsaid test, it's clear that I need to raise my standards and raise the esteem of WVLP so that we warrant the purple jacket when you come visit.
Well, there's a little backstory about that jacket. There comes a time when you're in your career where you have to hit a bit of a crossroads, and you start to see those that want to emulate you and they want to pretend to be you, even though that it's an impossibility to be as great as I am. So I raised the bar. I had some jackets made from a custom maker out in Encino, California, that I won't divulge the name of because it's my problem, not anybody else's.
Right.
And so as a result, I told my wife, who looked at the jacket and just shook her head and said, "What is this?" I said, "This is me raising the bar." So it takes more than a suit. It takes more than a shirt and tie and a pair of sunglasses from Walmart to do what I do.
The implication being also that there's more than one of these out there, and we may see others.
You might.
I'm excited about that. That's pretty good. So I've had wrestlers in here. I've had promoters in here. You are the first manager I've gotten to talk to. You are the owner, CEO, I'll let you specify the term, of the Moretti Agency. And so do I call you manager? Do I call you an agent? Do you do a little bit of both? What do you do for your clients?
I am a full-service agent for my clients. I handle every part of their career. Booking, promotion, travel, as well as ensuring their victories and matches, as well as making sure that they're not screwed over, making sure that they're taken care of. I am an agent. Okay, let me explain what a manager is, because it's different from what I do. A manager is a filthy, disgusting, flesh-eating parasite, the likes of which should never walk the earth. I'm an agent.
Okay. I'm going to make notes on this. There we go. So I shouldn't call you manager anymore. I will call you agent from now on.
I appreciate it.
I will do
You
my
can
best.
call a manager. You can call Rat a manager. Kid's got the right name. Your name is a reflection of who you are.
And this would be Mr. Rat J Flywheel.
One and the same.
That we're talking about. So that brings us over a little bit to the area that I've been most familiar, well, pretty much the only area where I've been familiar with your work recently, and that's in ARW Pro. And Rat is one of the managers running around in that promotion that apparently you and he don't see eye to eye, have a little, getting some conflicts.
Well, you're right. The area in Indiana that I'm working currently is ARW Pro. And where I have a little problem with Mr. Flywheel is that he does not respect what a millionaire such as myself brings to the table. Again, he feels you can just walk out there and, glad hand the crowd and make nice with these hot dog eating yokels that have to get up and go to work for a living, which is disgusting in its own right. And he doesn't understand the prestige, the money that comes along with titles. So when his tag team, which consists of BOW and Punisher 747, captured the ARW tag team titles, they understood what a man of my caliber could bring and could allow them to achieve. And they turned their backs on him and got rid of him like he was yesterday's trash. So, Mr. Flywheel, I'm going to segue into October 14th. We're going to see you again. You, that other loser, Max Holiday, that other former client of mine who I have little to no use for right now, the ARW heavyweight champion, Rough Crossing, and aggravated assault, my team, the ARW tag team champions, are going to show you what their name really means. It's going to be 60 minutes of pain, agony, and the worst time you've ever had, gentlemen. And Rat, if you get in my way, I will show you why I was such an accomplished boxer back in my younger days. You will be knockout number 79, guaranteed.
So you were a boxer back in the day.
I was a fairly polished amateur boxer.
Nice.
I had a record of 111 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 78 knockouts.
78 knockouts. There we go. And I get, maybe that kind of segues me a little bit into sort of what your history is in terms of when and how did you decide, already being a millionaire, you obviously don't need the financial contributions that come from wrestling. So what made you decide to leave your comfort zone and do what it is you do?
Well, I really never left my comfort zone. I've expanded it. I was fortunate enough to climb the corporate ladder and work for my father and work for my uncle, who is dearly departed, rest in peace. And they taught me the business aspects of negotiating contracts, mergers and acquisitions, what it takes to make money. Somewhere in this country, the idea of making money has become a dirty word. People think that if you're a millionaire, you're rotten. They think if you're a billionaire, you're the Antichrist. Well, I personally don't care, because anything I need is either a credit card, a wave of a pen, or an unfolding of some paper money, and I get what I want. Wrestling was always a passion of mine. Let's be honest about it. We're all fans of wrestling at one point or another from young ages. I was very fortunate to be born and grow up in part of my childhood in New York City. So I was able to see superstar Billy Graham. Yes, my wife cringes every time I do a superstar Billy Graham promo in the mirror, because he was probably the best promo man ever in the history of wrestling. Very ahead of his time. So, you're a fan of the game. I've always been a fan of the manager. Okay, I like to call myself an agent. I conduct myself in that manner. Will I get involved? Absolutely. But the art of the manager, watching guys like the Grand Wizard and Freddie Blassie and Bobby Heenan, Gary Hart, who's a big influence on me, how they guided J.J. Dillon, who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple times, how they've guided the careers of their clients, how they raised the profile of the clients that they had. That's an art form. And it's an art form that sadly is going away. So I like to do what I can to keep that. I'm not going to say it's a dying art form, but it might be slightly on the ropes. But I like to try to keep that art form alive.
Did you go from being a boxer directly to being a manager or agent in wrestling? Did you actually do any wrestling in the interim?
No, I fought when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So I did a lot of amateur stuff when I was a teenager. And then one day my uncle and my father sat me down and said, look, it's time for you to go into business. It's time for you to start growing up. Yeah, sports are great, but are you going to be a world champion? Because if you're not, don't do it. And, I liked it, but I didn't have the commitment to box professionally. So went to college, majored in business, started working for the family, worked my way up. The gentleman that actually got me involved in wrestling, in terms of watching him, was a former associate of my uncle's who became a manager. His name was Ken Tate, and he worked out in Texas primarily, and he's now residing in Kansas. And Ken, I saw what Ken did after leaving the business and going into wrestling, and I said, ooh, there might be something there. And I kind of sort of forgot about it. And then, my business endeavors took me to Chicago. And I happened to go to an indie show one night for POW Entertainment. And I got hooked. And one of the wrestlers was having some trouble getting to the position that she wanted to be in. And her name's Melanie Cruz. And she's very, very accomplished. And so we struck a deal for me to guide her career. And that's how I got started. But, the funny part about getting started in the wrestling business is I didn't want to just be this jerk that walks out with my client, just stands outside the ring and acts like a fool. I wanted to learn what it takes to be a wrestler. So I got fully trained alongside my client. I got fully trained to be a wrestler. I could jump in that ring tomorrow and probably win any title I want, but it's not what I choose to do. So being a fully trained wrestler gave me that insight as to how to examine the nuances of the game. And as such, you see the results. I mean, you see my record. Wherever Chaz Moretti goes, whoever Chaz Moretti represents, that person or people become champions. Facts are facts.
I've noticed that as I've been watching your interests in ARW Pro, and it seems like that combination of if other folks know these details that you actually have been trained, coupled with your history in boxing, it could be why they seem like a lot of folks seem to give you their distance and not get up in your grill like they might other people, or that I've seen them do other people. It seems like that adds an extra layer of respect and authority that some others may not have.
It could be respect, it could be fear.
Both.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I am not afraid to get involved. If I see what I consider to be wrongdoing happening to my clients, I'll let a referee know. I'll let the other wrestler know. If there happens to be a second or a manager, don't get in my way, because I'm not bashful. And if I get fined, so what? I got enough money to pay any fine there ever is.
In terms of let's call it the geographic spread of the Moretti Agency and your interests, so you have, we've talked about some of the folks on ARW Pro, and we'll talk about that October 14th show in more detail later on. How far outside into the Chicago region and beyond does this extend? Do you have, any of your clients in ARW Pro? Do you follow them as they move into other promotions as well, or do you have separate interests in different promotions? And just what can you say about that?
The Moretti Agency is worldwide. I have managed clients that reside in England. I was very, very fortunate to stand in the corner of Soraya Knight. For those that don't know who Soraya Knight is, she is probably the greatest woman wrestler to ever come out of England. Her daughter's Paige.
Oh, okay.
And everybody knows who Paige is. And Soraya Knight is phenomenal. And I was very, very blessed to represent her.
Nice.
I've represented Adam Pearce when Adam was the POW Superstars champion after his runs as the NWA World Champion. I'm very fortunate to manage Adam. I've managed in Wisconsin. I've managed in Iowa. I've managed in Ohio. I worked with Sean Casey out in Ohio. I follow some of my clients to where they go. I've been very fortunate to have a good working relationship with Colin Cambridge. I've managed both Colin in Illinois and Indiana. Colin's injured right now, but he'll be back soon. And like I said, the agency is worldwide. So I have a client coming into Chicago Style Wrestling on October 20th, who I have the pleasure of representing. And he is the AIWF, and for those that don't know what the AIWF is, it's the American Independent Wrestling Federation. He is the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is Francisco Chiazzo. And Francisco is the real deal. There's a guy right there that if you get in his way, he will obliterate you without a stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, am I pigeonholed into one spot? Absolutely not. I am willing to travel to anywhere in the world to manage a client or to associate or to advise a client that wishes to have one of the greatest minds in this business in their corner. As you notice, Kenny, I'm not going to say I'm the greatest because I'm not. There are others out there that are equal to or better than I am. What I take from them is a learning experience. I will look at a gentleman that comes out of Utah. His name is MK, Matt Robles. Matt Robles is right now the best manager in the country. Matt's style is different from my style, but Matt commands that same respect. Matt gets that same set of results that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Another gentleman that I've learned a lot from is Armando Estrada. Everybody knows who Armando Estrada is. Armando Estrada managed Umaga.
Okay.
God rest his soul. When Umaga made his run in the WWE and worked in WrestleMania, and I've learned a great deal from him. I've learned a great deal from Joey Eastman, who's currently residing out in New Hampshire. Joey was one crazy fool. First manager I ever saw that would literally do the superfly dive off the top of a cage. No way you're ever going to see me do that, folks. You're going to say, oh, Chaz Moretti, you're going to fly out the cage? What are you, out of your mind? Not happening.
You can pay someone else to do it for you.
Exactly right, and that's what I do. So, to go along with what we're talking about, I've had the fortune of managing Nature Boy Paul Lee in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club's Casino Royale shows the last 2 years running. So, where does Chaz Moretti manage? Anywhere I'm needed.
Let's say I'm a wrestler and I'm floundering and I'm looking for some guidance, and maybe I've seen the success some of your clients have had, and I'm looking to you for a possibility of joining in with your group. What are the minimum qualifications of someone who approaches you as a potential client that they need to have?
They need to be trained. I don't have time nor patience for anyone who thinks that they can go from taking a seat in the crowd to jumping in the ring. You need to go to a reputable school. You need to have a trainer that knows what he's doing and get your basics down. Get your basic training down. Get your moveset down. I will help you with your psychology. I will help you with your persona. I'll even buy your gear for you because money doesn't bother me. But don't come to me saying, well, I was at a show and I could do that. Will you manage me? Absolutely not. The other one that makes me laugh, and there are people that come to me and say, oh, Chaz, I was thinking I want to be a manager. Great, go get trained. Well, no, it's easy. I mean, all I got to do is just, dress up and walk out of the curtain with the guy and just yell at the crowd, and then I'm done. No, that's not what it's about. Go take a seat back in the crowd. Go buy a ticket. There are people that are in this business and people that wish they were in this business. And the line between the two is very, very strong. You don't want to get trained, don't bother me. I don't have time.
You were mentioning some of the people that have been your influences, and especially some of the older names like Classy Freddie Blassie. And you've actually hit a whole lot of my bullet points of things I was going to ask you about. So the segues here, no, it's actually great. The segues are tremendous. And I'll tell you in a few minutes why Classy Freddie Blassie was really interesting that you brought him up. But I've heard stories in the past, or you read books and hear recollections of some of those managers that were so good at getting the crowd riled up, especially a few decades ago when the environment was a little bit different. That basically, their safety would be in question because they got people so angry that those people would try to get to them after a show or something. Have you ever had that kind of situation?
I sure did. I had that situation happen in May. Actually, it was in April of this year. I was requested by a very young, talented wrestler to help guide his career, and his name is Bo Tatum, and he's from, you're going to love this, he's from Champion City, Missouri.
That's
He's
great.
the king of Champion City. And Bo asked me to guide his career, and he was looking to make a name for himself in global professional wrestling, which is an excellent promotion that runs out of Midlothian, Illinois. In fact, we just had a show last night that was a complete sellout, 300 plus, but I'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
Anyway, Bo asked me to manage him, and I went out, and there was the top guy supposedly was their Battle Royal champion. The kid's name was Battle Royal Barry, and he was a goof. He didn't belong there. He didn't belong having a title. That was for damn sure. So I decided that after scouting out opponents and people not really knowing what I was doing there, I decided to jump in the ring and talk to Mr. Barry. Basically told him what I thought of him. And what he didn't understand is because he was, big dumb jock, too stupid. He didn't understand that I had Bo Tatum coming in behind him. Well, we submarined him. We put his arm inside of a steel chair and proceeded to drop a leg on it, proceeded to drop a knee on it. We basically tried to tear his arm off. And by the time we were chased out of the ring by GPW higher-ups, we had to fight our way back through the crowd to the locker room. We were notified later on that 2 squad cars had been called, one for each of us. An ambulance for Mr. Barry to take him to the hospital because that's where he belonged. And basically caused a riot in our first night. So yeah, I've had that happen before.
So you go home and open up your journal and put that in the success column then.
Are you kidding me? I went on
Yeah.
Facebook Live and preached that as much as I could. I don't need people to like me. I don't want you to like me. Fans liking me does not put any more money in my pocket than fans hating me. So you don't like what I do? It's your problem. You don't like the clothes that I wear? Tough. You don't like the fact that I have got more money in my wallet than you'll see in a year at that pathetic little job you work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? That's your problem. Because I don't apologize for who I am. And I damn sure don't need anybody's approval to do what I do. When we rack up W's in the win column, and I look at the vast array of belts and trophies that sit in the Moretti Agency's trophy case, that's my validation. That and clients that come out of the woodwork to have me represent them. That's what I work for. For the fans, I could care less. I'll tell you what, I know what you're thinking. I know what you miserable morons out there are thinking. You're thinking, oh my God, I cannot wait to see somebody just beat the ever-loving crap out of Chaz Moretti. Maybe that's true. Maybe it'll happen one day. But you'll have to pay for the privilege of viewing it. You'll have to buy a ticket. But I assure you, you're going to go home disappointed each and every time.
Well, that brings us around then to the show coming up next weekend, speaking of buying tickets. Actually, before that, you had mentioned when you were talking about GPW that there was a sellout of around 300, and you said you wanted to mention something about that.
Yeah, I want to congratulate Bo Tatum. The King of Champion City is now the reigning global professional wrestling champion. We decided last night they had a championship match between the current champion, Jake Andrews, who's another miserable fool that panders to the crowd, and Marche Rocket, who is one of Impact Wrestling's superstars. And we decided that, you know what, there's no title match without the agency, so we interjected ourselves into their little match and got it thrown out. Mr. Rocket, however, thinking more with his heart than with his brain, wanted the match reinstated with Bo included as a triple threat. And true to form, Bo Tatum won. Another title, another champion in my client roster. So again, congratulations, Bo.
Are there any other promotions that are within driving distance, and I don't even know how I'd quantify that, but of the Northwest Indiana area that's reasonably reached for somebody interested in a show? We've got ARW Pro, GPW. Are there other promotions in this kind of general Chicagoland region where you have active champions in the Moretti Agency roster?
Chicago Style Wrestling is a promotion that I work, and they work out of, they hold their events at the Edison Park Inn on 6700 North Olmsted in Chicago. North side of Chicago. Maybe it's a little bit of a drive from Northwest Indiana, but it's worth it. Good, reasonably priced show. The food is great. There's a cash bar right in premises, and I do control the fortunes of the AIWF World Champion Francisco Chiazzo and Marco Anthony, who is another well-established star in the local scene, and Stormy Lee, who's probably going to be the name in ladies wrestling within the next few months. So it's another show to go ahead and see. I mean, there's so many indie promotions out there. It's great for the fans because for $10, $15, they can see guys that aren't that manufactured. You know, they're characters. They control their own fate. They want to entertain and they want to succeed and they want to win, and they're young and hungry. And so it's a great opportunity for fans to see a lot of different styles and a lot of different wrestlers, and quite a few good managers. Other than myself, and I rip on Rat, but Rat's good at what he does. He's just not as good as I am. Charlie Jr. is another guy. I mean, Charlie Jr.'s got energy. My God, where does he get it from? I have no idea where he gets it from. But God bless him, since his interests don't conflict with mine.
So far.
There's also a gentleman that's been managing forever up in the Chicago area and Northwest Indiana area named C-Red. And C-Red's phenomenal. He's very, very knowledgeable. He knows how to control a wrestler's career. And by control, I mean put him in the right direction. Put him in a direction where he's going to win or she's going to win. So there are contemporaries of mine in the local area that are very good. There was one contemporary of mine who at the time was extremely good, but he's not anymore. I mean, come on, he's slowed down. He's old. The guy should just go away to the old people's home, play golf. I don't care. Do shuffleboard. Yes, King Bishop, I'm talking about you, you decrepit old has-been. Every single time I try to do something right for my clients, I got old Panama Hat coming out, just aggravating me for no reason. Why don't you do everybody a favor? Okay? I hear the old people's buffet starts early in the morning, so you can get up early, go have your oatmeal, go play your shuffleboard and your checkers, and get to bed by 5, 6 o'clock like the rest of the geriatrics. And leave the work to us. And if you don't like what I'm saying, tough. There's nothing you can do about it. Because if you try to find me, you and that other little miserable midget, Joey Boom Boom, commissioner of ARW Pro, if you try to find me, if you try to suspend me, I'll just buy my way out of it. And you know it, gentlemen.
So that brings us to October 14th. That is next weekend already. Good grief.
Yes, sir.
Nightmare on Grand Street at Morton High School in Hammond is the next ARW Pro show. Doors at 6:30. Show starts at 7:30, I believe.
Correct.
And all the people you've been naming should be there. Joey Boom Boom, King Bishop, who they visited the station here a couple of times, so I should probably point out that Mr. Moretti's views may not represent those of WVLP because I'd like him to come back. And
well, of course they don't represent the views of WVLP. WVLP isn't that smart. I know you want him to come back. I know.
Yeah.
You can't have me every week because I'm expensive.
Well, we're like wrestling Switzerland here, so you can have your say, and then when they come back sometime, they can have theirs. And
well, I'm sure
they've
will.
probably said stuff about you the other times they had visited here. We can go back and check the tapes.
No, they said stuff to me.
Yeah.
But I'm too shallow to get bummed out, so it's okay.
Now, you talked about your clients and their match in the show. How specific can you be exactly about who their opponents are, what kind of match it is, anything like that?
It's a main event. I will lead aggravated assault into that main event to utterly destroy Max Holiday and Rough Crossing. And again, if Rat gets in the way, Rat's going to get a beating worse than the other two he's gotten when he stuck his nose in where it doesn't belong. I'm also going to represent, and this one's a little personal, I'm going to represent Renee Van Peebles in her match against, I'm going to be nice. I know we're on the radio and I can't say the kind of language that I want to use.
FCC.
Yeah, I understand all about the FCC. I know. And I know they're expensive to pay off, so I'm not gonna ruffle their feathers. But yeah, I'm gonna represent Renee Van Peebles against Moxie Molly for obvious reasons. Moxie Molly, everybody's sweetheart, laughs and giggles and decides to ruin a $2,500 suit because she thought it would be funny to give me an early birthday present. I don't want any presents from her. I don't like her. I wish she would never look at me again. But since she decided to hit me with a pastry bomb,
Video
so to
available on
speak.
YouTube.
Yes, video available on YouTube because ARW Pro just loves showing it. Moxie Molly decided to put a pie in my face, and she thought it was the end of it. She thought she just skipping off, giggling, but that's okay. Next Saturday's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee Van Peebles, Molly, you've riled up the agency. Look out now. So that's what we're doing. That's
right.
what we're doing next Saturday. I mean, am I going to represent anybody else? Am I going to pick up somebody new? Maybe.
I'm sure you can't tell us that.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Even it doesn't matter if I can or I can't. I don't listen to people. People tell me, "Oh, Chaz, you can't do that." Oh, really? Why? Well, you'll get fined. Oh, okay. How much? So, I mean, what are you gonna do? Slap me on the wrist?
Mm-hmm.
Put me in ARW jail? Suspend me for 6 months? Go ahead. Guarantee you it won't last long.
They'll put you in ARW jail and make you listen to King Bishop CDs the whole time.
All right, let me rethink my last position then.
All right. Well, you're thinking I have to mention that I've been keeping an eye on the clock, and we have used up our half an hour already.
That's all right.
So you'll definitely have to come back so we
We'll
can
definitely come
continue
back.
this.
I had more fun than I ever had on a Sunday night, so this is all good.
And I'm sorry if you had plans to watch Hell in a Cell live. I'm sorry that this got in the way, but
Well, that's okay. I'm sorry, my last statement was a complete lie.
all right. So thank you so much for coming in again. October 14th, next Saturday night, Nightmare on Grand Street, Morton High School. It's a fundraiser, ARW Pro fundraiser for the marching band at that school to raise money for uniforms.
Yes, it is.
So come out and check out the action.
Look forward to seeing everybody at the show.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm Ken Luther. This is WVLP at 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. And it is now time to listen to a replay of Punk Rock Radio.